Revolution Festival on the same day that Becky was speaking at an event in Motherwell. And on that day, 650 people in total came together to say, yeah, I care about climate change, and yes, I'm a green industrial revolutionary, and yes, I know that we need change, and we need that change now to protect our planet and to protect the future. So, one thing we need to ask, we've got a question we're going to throw out to the room, and we're going to need Sasha or somebody like that to use the roving mic. And we've got to ask a question is, why does this matter? Why do we need a green industrial revolution? And we're going to ask 3 or 4 people in the room right now. So does anybody want to give a 10-15 second contribution why it matters? Why do we need a green industrial revolution? This, we've got Matt. Yes.
Oh, Mark, yeah. I can shout.
Tell us your name as well.
My name's Anne Whitehead.
Anne Whitehead, I'm from Rice Norton CMP. I think I need a green revolution because I want to leave my children and grandchildren with a better planet than the one that I've lived in, and I think that's possible, and I think we should all be thinking about that. Future generations, a better planet, not a worse, degraded planet.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen in the back table. Back table, just to you.
My name is Aliona, and I'm kind of studying this in university. I think we do need to care about green industrial revolution because of the sustainability of basically area, and we run out of the natural resources. We need to basically talk about recycling, which saves our planet and also bring green energy to our life instead of basically using fuels.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Bob Unit. I'm from Wapping. We need a green industrial revolution for all those reasons, and because we need to create jobs, but without destroying the planet in doing that, so that the future is not just greener, but actually productive and a real genuine future for that generation that follows now and that are already being sacrificed by the loss of the old industrial jobs.
We need all the things that I'm James Kennedy from Poland and Pancras. We need all the things that people have said so far, but we need it to be a revolution, because this is not enough just to stop using plastic bags, and you need to have political action and a political program which is with social justice at the heart to achieve all those things.
Hi, thank you. I'm Christine Barrow from Hammersmith and Fulham. I think we need a green industrial revolution because the industrial revolution started some of this stuff, and we have to think about where we're going to go in the future. We need it to be good quality unionised jobs, but also I want the green industrial revolution because I'm nearer to 70 than I am to 60, and 70 years ago we started using plastic. So I think it's absolutely my responsibility to be part of the green industrial revolution to make sure that plastic doesn't strangle everything in the oceans.
Thank you. We'll finish on this last one. There's more people. This lady at the front will finish on this one. There'll be plenty of time for discussion throughout the day.
Hi, my name is Valerie from Islington North CLP. For me, it's just about being more loving and caring for the whole of society, the world. It's, I think, about time that us as developed country kind of put everyone else at the forefront as well. I think it's really good that some countries are doing it already, but I think we should be the example and to be at the forefront. Thank you.
See there, in the space of a few minutes, you've got the ideas on what's going to create this green industrial revolution. You talked about the future generations, you talked about how effectively we use resources, you talked about jobs, you talked about political action, you talked about social justice. And last but not least, about that importance of compassion and caring for others as well, absolutely vital. So without further ado, we're going to go on to our excellent panel of speakers. And the first speaker I'm going to introduce is part of the UK School Strike Network. And I think we can all kind of agree that in the past few months, the young people in this country have been spearheading what I'm sure you'll agree is a kickstart in this green industrial revolution. So without further ado, please can you put your hands together for the very inspirational, and thank you Al for everything you've done so far, Al.
So I'm in North West London, born and raised. I'm proud of it. And for everyday life, I've seen the devastating impacts of climate change throughout my entire life. That doesn't mean that the devastating impacts of climate change is just about the world getting a whole lot hotter and getting a whole lot, I'm going to swear there, a whole lot more rubbish. As you mentioned, social justice is key to trying to solve climate injustice. So, for years and years, we've been told that we need to take action on climate in such a number of years. But then we say it again and again. It's almost like when you're at school and you don't want to do your homework. So, I'll do my homework later, but then you face the repercussions of it. If we don't take action now, if we don't instill a green industrial revolution, if we don't implement a Green New Deal, we will just end up suffering for those consequences. We need to organise locally, so we need to organise in places like Islington, places like Bury, places like Sheffield, places all over the country, local and national organising to stop climate change. I believe in the implementation of the Green New Deal because I think we need to do more than tinkering around and setting 2050 as a target to reach net zero carbon emissions and just pushing climate justice at the back of the agenda. And to be honest, in my own personal feelings, 2050 is a sign of incompetence. And I'm not going to throw any fingers here, but there is a man who shall not be named, who you all are probably familiar with because you're all in Uxbridge. I'll give you a clue, his name begins with a squeamish B word. But it's not only Boris's fault. We've been doing for years and years, since the Industrial Revolution, we've been fossil fueling our way into trying to create more jobs. There's this whole idea, and this idea has led about to people voting to leave the EU, for example, that in order to have more jobs, we need to fossil fuel more. That's not a deliberate idea, but that idea has been instilled in people's minds, not intentionally, but because of the environment we're in. We need a Green New Deal, because we need to decarbonise this economy by 2030 for a 10-year implementation with the workers, the unionists, the Labour Party activists, students. It's better to come together than being far apart. We need a just and prosperous transition for workers from the jobs that are pro-fossil fueling, the jobs that are in the coal mines, into green, unionised jobs. We need to massively reduce social and economic inequalities. And that doesn't mean building a third runway at Heathrow. That means that we need to make sure that there are so many marginalised communities who are affected by climate change heavily. In fact, it's not their fault, but then also it's their fault. It's everyone's fault in this room. We all have a role to play. We can't just say, I support the school strikers and then do nothing. We all have to tackle climate injustice. And that means reducing social and economic inequalities, which means moving away from this sort of capitalist idea that to solve climate change, we need to make more green spaces in North London. We need to push this corporate agenda that you need to basically only build solar panels to solve climate inequalities. I'll give you an example of social inequalities in my area specifically. So I'm sure all of you hated that heatwave a couple of weeks ago. I was recently diagnosed with asthma because of how ridiculous the air quality is getting in London. And I couldn't get an appointment with my own GP because they closed because of the heat wave, because it was an unfair practice. There needs to be a 4-day working week in order for us to fulfill our jobs. There needs to be proper practices for workers to have a just transition into the world we want to live in. We need to protect and restore vital threatened habitats. We need to build a resilient society. We need to organise to tackle against the effects of climate change, as I mentioned, on both the local and national level, which means that we need to all strike in September. We're all calling, every one of you in this room has a part to play. Low noise features have been messed up because of everything, not directly that all of you in this room have done, but we both are part of Generation Z. We've both grown up with the effects of the 2008 crash. I think it's fair to say that you can't all just say that you're not part of this when we all need to reduce our own carbon footprints. But individual change cannot happen without systematic change. You can't ban plastic straws and say, that's it, job done. You need to ban fossil fuel companies from digging into the grounds and destroying our vital habitats and destroying our planet. I'm going to pass on to
Okay, so thank you for that. I want to branch on from that and move on to a kind of moving beyond the local into the international. So, as we've already spoken about, this is about regional, local, neighbourhoods, communities coming together and doing work so that they can doing community organising and going beyond the ordinary limits of what environmentalism means, going into, your GP, going into your community centre, going into your school, going into your workplace, and talking to the people there about what is important to you, what is the number one priority for all of us, which is the safety and well-being of our entire planet, all of us and future generations. But it's also about what community means beyond that. Our green industrial revolution, or Green New Deal, whatever you want to call it, as long as it saves our planet and does it quickly, it needs to be grounded in true leftism and radical leftism. It needs to be grounded in internationalism, in not just looking at green jobs for us and solar panels for us, but also what the words green industrial revolution really mean. The Industrial Revolution was started in this country and it's spread across the world. It needs to be us that spearhead the movement across the world to end it. And we can't just think in these narrow terms of, as has already been said, individual change. This is a revolution and it needs to start here. So when we're organising in our local communities, we need to think beyond the snappy and important, so important, topics of green unionised jobs and solar panels and what we can do here, but also how we can use finance and trade and all these international systems to do more than that, to make up in some kind of minimal way for all the destruction that we've caused across the world. And also to remember that it's not about our role to play in causing it, because when we look at who really caused climate change, it's not really individuals like you and me, but we need to take the responsibility that we can and take back the power that we can in order to make sure that this crisis is ended and that climate change is stopped and complete kind of catastrophe is averted. So the word community, we're organising our communities. For me, community means not only London, it also means Nigeria, which is where my family's from. And when I think about who we need to help and who we need to save, I cannot think just in these terms of our country. And I see a lot of things in the media sometimes which scare me. I think about how the reactionaries who have spoken about the racist reactionaries who seem to be gaining more power by the second, are not going to, when climate denial becomes impossible, are not just going to lay down and, you know, just let leftists take over. They're going to find a way to make climate change something which they can use electorally.